Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 10. First thing first, thank you so much for noticing this and for your kind messages. This is just your run-of-the-mill carpal tunnel acting up, and it actually just started last year. So I've been going to acupuncture once in a while, and it does take care of it. And I did have a session yesterday. So this is right now more preventative than anything else. So I appreciate that. And I really do thank you for noticing this. And it makes me so happy because this really means that you guys are paying attention to even details that probably are not relevant to what you're learning here. And I take a lot of joy and care and love from that. And so thank you. So today, I think this is going to be one of my most exciting and my favorite topics of all time, simply because of the fact that I think this is why many of us started on this journey in the first place, is that constant questioning of how do I break through? How do I become rich? How do I do better? And again, I want to really make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from, philosophically speaking, is the fact that money is great. I keep saying that. I love money. Money's great. Money is one of the best tools that we all have access to and have the ability to gain over time. And with, as we improve our skills, our knowledge, our education. At the same time, though, it's not everything. And so it does come down to a mindset, because when you truly understand what money is and what it can do for you, that's when you truly become the master of it. And I know these days, we talk about masterclass, mastery. Mastery, in my opinion, is the fact that you are no longer owned or controlled by whatever it is that has been controlling you, and you feel like it's that feeling that you're possessed, but you can't quite explain what's going on, and it just kind of blind spot you. Okay, it's so blindfold you almost, really. And so with that said, I want to quickly take a look at the topic today, which is how to be or become rich and wealthy. For me, these two things are massively important and massively different, and yet very interconnected. And so if you remember the circle of wealth, or the wheel of wealth, as I like to call it, this is back a few episodes now, if you want to go back for some context, is the fact that rich these days is what I will identify as in having immediate and literal resources, okay, available to you, and a lot of it. And so that's rich. So financially speaking, somebody that actually makes a great income right now, even from their regular job, just over broke, they can be considered as rich. However, are they wealthy? Now, I'm going to take that one more level up. Once again, going back to the circle of wealth, we have 3 different income buckets. We have active income, we have passive income, and then we have portfolio and equity income. Now, wealth a lot of the time truly is built in the portfolio and equity income bucket. However, being rich can be accomplished also by advancing, increasing, expanding your active and passive incomes. And so what that means is creating multiple streams of income. And I've already shared with you, statistically speaking, an average millionaire these days, and I know we live in a world where there are a lot of billionaires now, so I haven't seen any stats on that. So if you have, feel free to share it in the comment section below. However, what I've been learning and what I still know right now is that statistically speaking, an average millionaire has 7 or more streams of income coming in. And funny enough, as I was scrolling through social media yesterday, yes, I do still take time to scroll through social media. However, I curate the content that I really want to see. And this is why I constantly joke about the fact that if you actually look at my Instagram, for example, what you're going to see are workout videos, exercise and nutrition and detox, as well as motivational business tips, things like that, okay? And so with that said, coming back here, rich and wealthy, and this is why I said it really comes down to a mindset, because like me, I'm pretty sure many of you that are watching this, you did not come from that environment. And so sometimes really it is literally like doing a 180 from what we've learned growing up. And so here we go, the rich and the wealthy, okay? What happens here is you're gonna notice some subtle similarities, and that'll create massive differences in terms of results, okay? Now, first thing first, the rich and the wealthy, they still work. That's the funny thing, that I'm really finding that that is a very consistent theme. So depending on the names that you're more familiar with, you can look at politicians, you can look at artists, you can look at celebrities, you can look at people like Oprah, you can look at motivational speakers like Brendon Burchard, like Tony Robbins. Doesn't matter who you're following or who you look up to admire, there is a common theme there. The reason why we even know about these people is because of the fact that they are still constantly working. They are constantly working to produce results. However, they're working not because of money anymore. They are working because they truly want to work on and fulfilling their passions, and they enjoy what they get to do. And the funny thing is, this is why I feel so lucky and blessed and grateful every single day right now, is the fact that I get to do what I get to do because money is no longer an issue. And I think this is one of the questions that I keep asking, that was asked of me years ago when I first started this journey, simply because the fact that it was never really a question. It was never really a question that I had ever heard. And you might have heard of it. And the question is, what would you do with your time, your energy, your mental space, or any other resources that you have available to you when money is no longer an issue? What would you do when money is no longer an issue? And so I really want you to think about that. And so here's the thing. If you're anything like me, I still had to work my little tail off to start somewhere. And so it still starts with income for many of us, okay? Except that the difference here is that instead of going straight into getting loans, which as I mentioned in previous episodes, again, if you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, this has been a continuum. So go back so that you build some context for yourselves so that this particular episode will make a lot more sense and it'll be more meaningful to you anyway. So going back to here, the big twist, in my opinion, is the aha moment of the rich and the wealthy. They will work their tails off still. However, they've learned to continue to acquire assets. And as we have defined, assets are things that that will continue to put money into your pocket or bank account. And so these become what we call income generating assets. Income generating assets. Okay, I want you to really keep that in mind, because this also differentiates true educated and professional investors from just random buyers or amateur buyers. There's a huge difference there, because there's so many people out there, and dare I say, training programs out there that are still teaching people to do the buy, rent, and pray. And again, at some point, I will do some numbers and analysis and breakdowns to show you, yes, why it is still good for you to acquire even just one piece of real estate, as opposed to maybe putting money into a savings account, into a mutual fund that you have zero control over. However, if you truly want to grow and prosper and become rich and wealthy, you gotta follow this thought process to a T. There's very little wiggle room, because success leaves clues. So many people, because of ego or whatever, or maybe they cheap out, they feel like they can just do the bare minimum and achieve the same results that other people are achieving by truly investing in themselves. And so this is also why I keep emphasizing, and if you want, I believe it was a special episode that I made, 6.1 this season. And people have been asking me, what's what are the differences? How is Trust Your Talent Academy different from the other programs? And I always like to say that on some level, though, there really isn't a true competition. It just depends on what you're looking at. We're in it for the long game. We're not here to say, you know what, just buy a couple of properties and you're going to feel rich and you're going to be rich and wealthy for the rest of your life. That's not what this is about. Because let's keep going first. And I'm going to share something very personal with you. So if it's income generating, by definition, this will now contribute back into the income side of your financial statement. Remember, this whole thing is a financial statement right here. It's got income and expense, asset and liability. In this case, they are pluralized. And so the income now will go and feed back into your bank account. And that's why when that happens, you can feel like, and you actually do become rich in that case, simply because of the fact that you do have more income streams coming in. That means you got a bit more financial resources now. At the same time, though, what happens is the rich and the wealthy, they still want toys, they still want nice vacations, beautiful houses, or beautiful clothes, or quality time with people, or good food. That's the case for me. And what happens here is that they will leverage that income and then go and buy the toys, the pleasure items that they seek also. Okay. And so the biggest aha moment once upon a time for me was the fact that I had a mentor. He was a car nut, and I don't really know cars. As I mentioned, one of the mentors on the Trust Your Talent team, he's a car nut. Every time he starts talking about cars, kind of loses me a little bit because I don't understand it, and I'm actually not interested in it. And that's okay, because there are things that we're interested in that other people are not, and that's totally okay, right? And so what happens is he was saying that his car collections are in the 9 digits, and every single car is paid for on payments by an income generating asset. Okay, at this point, he's already branched out way beyond real estate back then, as I have now. However, back then, holding an 80-hour job and feeling very tired every single day at the end of the day, that was just completely mind blown. Okay. At the same time, I'll give you an example now too, personal example. Again, as I said, I'm not a big car person. However, I do enjoy my German luxury cars because I just needed to be comfortable and safe. And I do find myself feeling that way in a nice Mercedes or in a nice BMW. And so what happens is every time I look at a vehicle to lease again, I rarely ever purchase vehicles. Why? Because again, one of my mentors told me very early on, if it flies in the air, drives on the road, or swim in the ocean, you lease and you don't buy. And so I know sometimes we look at things on social media or read magazines. So-and-so has a jet, so-and-so has a yacht, so-and-so has, beautiful cars. Unless they have the true investor's mindset and they're collecting vintage vehicles, the other two items, typically speaking, they are depreciating assets. And so that's why, and if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm pretty sure Robert Kiyosaki talks about that as well. If it flies in the air, swims in the ocean, drives on the road, lease it, don't buy it, meaning don't finance it. And so again, the current car that I have, when we were looking at it, I remember every single month, I believe the car payment was going to be about $1,200. Not a whole lot in today's standards. However, this car is now 4 years old and I don't care. It still drives really well. Whenever I feel like getting a new car, I know I have an asset paying for it. The point is $1,200 plus gas, plus registration, plus insurance adds up to roughly about $1,800. And some months when we travel a little bit more with the vehicle, let's say a couple $1,000s. So what we are doing now, and this car was $110,000. And so a lot of people, what they'll do is, in order to knock down the monthly payment, because remember, our lives are now so broken down into how much does it cost on a monthly basis, that's the calculations that we do in our heads all the time. So what happens is, instead of, let's say, coming up with $20,000, $30,000 and getting onto a financing plan, trying to pay it off over 5, 7, 8 years these days, and hoping that in between your car will survive that long and you don't have to pay a lot to maintain it. Sounds familiar, isn't it? It's like an amateur mindset when it comes to real estate investing too. It's like buy, rent, and pray. And so coming back here, it's the fact that basically at this point, we know that instead of coming up with $110,000 so we don't take on a car loan, we put that $110,000 into an income generating asset. And I'll be completely honest, I don't like to keep $110,000 lying around doing nothing. If I'm working still, my money needs to be working also, and harder, much, much harder than me. And so when it comes down to here, what happens is we're going to put money and leverage and find an income generating asset so that every single month it is going to spit out $2,000 to feed that vehicle for me. And again, when you are talking to a strategy coach, for example, what we typically will help you do is to really look at your expenses. And this is also why we are teaching you to play the long game. We want to teach you how to fish and not give you a fish. This has never really about just buying real estate, okay? This is never has been just about buying real estate. This is about buying the right real estate, meaning investing. True investors focus on the end result, which is making money. And what will that money do for their lives? Well, helps you sleep better at night, helps you not have to worry about the economy, helps you go look at the gas prices and look at inflation and go, well, that sucks. However, it doesn't impact me. Okay, that's my personal hope for everybody when it comes to financial education, leveraging real estate. And so that way, when the bill comes out, you can debt service this with your income generating asset. If you love what you do, keep doing what you do. I know we talk about financial independence and financial freedom. In my opinion, not everybody cares for financial freedom as in walking away from their job. And I don't advocate that, because I know many of us, we have invested literally money, time, and in this case, our youth, sweat and tears sometimes getting into the profession that we're in right now. And let's say if you've been doing it for 10, 20 years, you've gotten quite good at it. You still enjoy it. And as some of my students would say in their 40s and 50s, I'm kind of cruising now. I've already paid my dues. And so I still enjoy what I do and I make decent coins from it. There's no point walking away from it. Okay. And so just remember, an average millionaire has 7 or more streams of income. And this is why I always say, at the end of the day, listen to this and answer this question for yourself. Okay. Would you rather, let's say in the next 5 years, declare financial freedom, meaning you no longer have to worry about money in the next 5 years? Maybe you only have 10 properties under your portfolio. However, there's enough cash flow. You know that your cash flow is going to be paying for a lot of your expenses, your liabilities, and you are also accumulating portfolio and equity income in the long term. Or would you rather be one of those people that will show up at a networking event and go, I have 120 doors, and yet when you look at them and you pay attention to how they're talking about it, they are stressed about the management of that portfolio because they're lacking systems and processes. They probably took a couple of programs and they were probably fairly good at raising funds, however, never got proper support and guidance and mentoring on how to play the long game. So again, just ask yourself that. I'm a big fan of, I only have 5 properties and yet money's not an issue anymore. Versus when somebody else talks about the fact that we are going to have 100 properties and yet it doesn't really work for them. Okay, it's not really serving them in any way. And so coming back here, if you remember the middle class is missing this very, very crucial link right here. And now the other thing is, yes, we are talking about real estate as our asset class. However, we've already discussed this. What is the biggest and greatest income generating asset that we all have? What is? It's the 6 inches between our ears. And so as a result, it's us. And that's why when people fail to see that investing in themselves first and foremost and continuing to, that's the part that really puzzles me. That's the part that really puzzles me. And so I want to leave this with you and really think about this entire process, okay? This entire thought process, because if you go back to the previous seasons, I've done a few strategy sessions. Financial independence and financial freedom can be achieved much, much easier than you think. It's just that so many times our ego gets in the way. Our ego gets in the way. And again, our money blueprint gets in the way, meaning being cheap. And that's the honest truth, because we like to joke that, especially in the real estate industry, we understand that when you pay peanuts, you're going to get monkeys. Okay, when you pay peanuts, you're going to get monkeys, because real tried, tested experience, advice, guidance, and education is expensive. That's the thing, because we have gone through the mistakes. And in my case, 7, 8-digit mistakes over the last nearly 20 years, so that I can stand here in front of you and share all of this with you authentically. Okay. And this is why, like I said earlier, I'm going to share something very personal with you. In the last, what are we at now? May. Okay. In the last 14 months at this point, our personal net worth has fluctuated by 7 digits. And that's just because of market movements. However, do I truly care? Not really, because remember, the rich don't give a flying fudge about that, simply because they understand as long as there's cash flow coming in, it's paying all the bills that they need, they will sustain. And the wealth is almost automatic as you build it. And this is why I constantly challenge people to think about things this way. Forget about your personal financial statement and forget about what I just said. I want you to just think about this. If you look at major big corporations that most people know in the world, when it comes to take my money, I want to invest my money into your company stocks. What are those companies? Those might be your Nikes, your Microsoft, your Coca-Cola, your Facebook, your Amazon, your Teslas these days. Okay. Do you think the valuation, meaning the valuations of these companies are exactly the same, or they only go up all the time? No, they don't. However, are they worried? No, because as long as they are in the positive and they're constantly investing into assets, and in this case, in a business perspective, asset can be so much more complicated than what we're doing here as real estate investors. It could be human capital that are assets. It could be technology that are asset. It could be real estate for them that's asset. It could be a process, a system that they develop that becomes asset. However, what it means is it continues to produce income for them so that they can keep the lights on and continue to grow and perform. Okay, so think about that. And I'm hoping to really break it down onto a personal level. If you want to make a difference, or at least start making a difference, because maybe you're halfway there. Maybe you're relatively comfortable as a middle-class person or family right now. However, you are feeling the pinch, or you just want to break that through, and so that you can be more. And again, in order to be more, you got to do more so that you can have more. And so some of you understand the whole be, do, and have concept. And the first thing before that, in my opinion, really is if you need to be different because you want a different result at the end of the day, the same formula applies, which is you got to think different so that you can act different, so that you can create different. Okay, so be different so that you can do different, and then you can have different. And hopefully that different is more financial success and more financial abundance. Now, with that said, I'm going to leave everybody here. Thank you for spending the time with me again. I'm super excited about this weekend coming up in Canada right now, because I know I've got audience from Hong Kong, from the US, and from Europe at this point. And so this weekend is what we call Victoria Day long weekend. However, Trust Your Talent, we're putting on a strategic real estate investing workshop for 2 days. And I'm so excited to be delivering that training, simply because it really reminds me of my own journey. As I said, I remember so many long weekends, birthdays, anniversaries, and even have to take time off to get myself educated. And so I'm just excited to meet the people. If you're watching this, I look forward to meeting you in person this weekend. And if you're not, hopefully we'll meet one day soon. And I just really admire and respect the people that take the time and make the initial sacrifices so that they can have the long-term joy and success and fulfillment that they get to create in life. So with that said, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend wherever you are. And I will be back here with episode 11 starting at the beginning of next week. Live well, everybody.